Hi, I'm Miss Melissa from the Oosterhout Free Library Book Bites series with Disney's Encanto, adapted by Angela Cervantes and published by Random House. Things are getting bad in the casita. The Madrigals had other things to worry about tonight. The Guzmans were on their way. Mariana Guzman was coming to propose to Isabella. As the family rushed off to get ready for the visit, Maribel checked in on Louisa. She was shocked to see that her sister was having trouble opening an ordinary pickle jar. Maribel backed away. When she passed by Louisa's door, its glow flickered and dimmed. Was Louisa right? Was her magic fading? Maybe there were still a few things to worry about, in addition to the proposal. Maribel had no time to waste. She ran back to her room to study the vision. It showed her standing in front of the cracked casita. "Maribel!" Maribel's father called out to her. He poked his head into the bedroom and broke her train of thought. "Got your party pants on? 'Cause I..." His eyes narrowed in on the vision. He looked at Maribel, alarmed. The house tried to hide the vision behind Maribel, but did a poor job of it and was much too slow. He'd seen it. Maribel was busted. For a second, she considered making up a story, but she couldn't think of one. She came clean. "I broke into Bruno's tower. I found his latest vision. The family's in trouble. The magic is dying. The house will fall. Louisa's gift is gone, and I think it's all because of me," Maribel blurted. Her father stood in silence. "Papa?" His eyes widened as if he was formulating a plan. Before Maribel knew it, he started shoving the shards into his pocket and rambling. "We say nothing. Abuela wants tonight to be perfect. Until the Guzmans leave, you did not break into Bruno's tower. The magic is not done. The house will not fall. Louisa's gift is not gone. No one will know. Just act normal. No one has to know." Suddenly, there was a noise outside the courtyard. Dolores stood on the courtyard on the other side of the balcony, staring back at them with wild and worried eyes. She'd heard everything. Augustine and Maribel were both busted. In the large dining room, the family sat around a big table set with the best silverware and dishes. Next to Abuela were their special guests of honor, the handsome Mariano and his Abuela, who had a reputation for being very proper. Abuela Alma placed the magical candle nearby to impress them. She believed the match between Mariano and Isabella was a major win for the family and the whole community. Maribel took her seat at the table between Isabella and her father, knowing that tonight was an important dinner and that Dolores knew about the vision. Maribel did her best to act as normal as possible. However, she didn't trust Dolores not to tell everyone what she'd heard. Sitting across the table from her cousin, Maribel watched with unwavering eye contact. Dolores glanced at Louisa, who could barely lift her plate, and back at Maribel. Maribel pressed forward with intense eyes that said, "Don't you dare." Dolores stared back, pained. She was struggling to hold the secret. Maribel shot a stern look. Tonight was not the time for it. Dolores glared back, looking like she'd pop at any second. "No, it is we who are honored to dine with La Familia Madrigal," Mariano's grandmother exclaimed. "Such a reputation. Although, when it comes to Mariano, it is best to see for yourself." Abuela Alma raised her glass and everyone followed suit. "Yes, well then, to a perfect night," she toasted with a slightly nervous smile. "To a perfect night," everyone replied. As the two abuelas continued to chat, Maribel held Dolores' gaze with a silent warning. "Do not say anything." "Potatoes?" Mariano passed a bowl to Maribel, forcing her to break her gaze with Dolores. As soon as Maribel's eyes were off her, Dolores leaned over to Camilo and whispered in his ear. Camilo immediately started choking on his food. His head morphed into Abuela Guzman's head, and food flew out onto the table in front of him. "Camilo, fix your face," Tio Felix said. Camilo's face turned back to his own and glanced at Louisa and then back to Maribel. She gave him the same intense stare of silence. "Water?" Isabella said. The jug of water passed by, blocking Maribel's view. Once out of her sight, Camilo was telling his dad. Tio Felix's eyes widened. He began choking on a bit of food, which he coughed up onto Abuela Guzman's plate. The whole table froze. What was happening? Abuela Alma, alarmed by everything she'd seen, tried to carry on as normal. "Casita, I think we need a new plate," she ordered. The house fritzed and tried to deliver a plate, but instead it fumbled several plates, which fell to the floor with a loud clang that spooked some of Antonio's animal friends. Abuela Guzman looked weirded out, but pretended not to notice any of the strange behavior around her. "The entire Encanto," she said, "was relieved when Antonio received his gift. Nice to know the magic is stronger than ever," she said. Louisa struggled to hold in a sob. "Yes, very true," Abuela Alma said, smiling. "Maribel, pass the salt, please." Happy to be helpful, Maribel smiled at her and then turned to her father, seated next to her, for the salt. "Papa, the salt?" Maribel's father tried to hand her the salt, but his hand shook uncontrollably. Maribel quickly took it and passed it to Abuela. "Gracias, Maribel." "No problem, Abuelita." Maribel smiled wide. "All I want to do is help this family." Thunder rumbled. "Papa!" Tio Felix had just finished whispering in her ear, and now a small swirling hurricane formed over the dining room table. How curious," Abuela Guzman said, noticing the small storm. "Papa, the cloud," Abuela said, embarrassed. Julieta leaned over to her sister, concerned. Papa then whispered in her ear, causing Maribel's mom to flush. "What?" Julieta asked with alarm. She looked to Maribel, deeply worried. Trying to avoid her mom's gaze, Maribel glanced down at the floor, where tiny cracks formed. She dropped lower under the table to get a better look. They were spreading everywhere. "Maribel!" Mariano called out. Maribel sat up fast and bumped her head on the table. "Any more cracks, or do you only see them when you're trying to get me off the dance floor?" he said jokingly. He chuckled in his light, charming way, not realizing cracks were forming under all of them. The two abuelas laughed politely, but Maribel could see that her abuela was sweating. "Yes, no, it's a very humorous question," Maribel answered, stealing a glimpse at the crack's progression across the floor. Soon, Antonio's animals started fluttering and making a nervous commotion when they saw the cracks, too. And speaking of questions, popping questions, are there any question you want to ask Isabella tonight? Like now, right now? Isabella turned to Maribel, annoyed. Confused by the sudden turn of events, Abuela Guzman spoke up. "Well, since everyone here has a talent, my Mariana wanted to begin the night with a song. Luisa, could you bring the piano?" Luisa, who was crying at the far end of the table, lifted her head. "Okay," she sobbed. She got up slowly from the table and slogged away to get the piano that she knew she couldn't lift. The cracks multiplied. There was definitely no time for a romantic song. The family was in danger. The proposal had to happen now so that the visitors could leave. Maribel rose from her seat. "It's actually family tradition to sing after," she said, shoving Mariano down on one knee in front of Isabella. She motioned for him to begin. "Isabella, most graceful of the madrigals," he stammered. As the cracks continued to spread under the length of the table, Maribel tried to shield the family from seeing them by awkwardly moving too close to the couple. In her peripheral vision, she noticed Tia Peppa squinting at something on the wall. Did she see the cracks too? Thunder exploded above them. More thunder erupted, frightening the animals. who quickly scurried under Augustine's chair. Some of the coatis spotted the glowing shards in his pocket. Noisily, they started tugging them out and assembling them on the floor. Mariano tried to continue. The most perfect flower in this entire Encanto? Trying to get through the proposal despite the sudden change of weather and the loud scraping noise on the ground as Luisa dragged the piano. Will you? Abuela Guzman watched in confusion. Then, just as Maribel shifted a bit, she saw the cracks snaking through the house. What is happening? Abuela Guzman screamed. Abuela Ama was absolutely mortified. This evening had gone horribly wrong. She knew she could no longer hide the truth. Just as she was about to speak, Dolores jumped in. Maribel found Bruno's vision. She's in it. She's going to destroy the magic, and now we're all doomed, she blurted. As if on cue, the clever coatis took the vision from the floor to the table for everyone to see. There was no denying it. Fully assembled, the vision showed Maribel in front of a cracked casita. Everyone gasped and looked back and forth from Maribel to the vision. Then the cracks rippled through the rest of the house, seemingly from where Maribel stood. Everyone's powers were on the fritz. The house freaked out and knocked over chairs. The piano tipped over, and above, a storm cloud unleashed a torrent of water onto the table. In shock, Isabella blasted a bunch of flowers straight onto Mariano's face. Ah, my nose! He screeched. She broke my nose! Even worse, the candle's vase was cracked too. The magic candle was melting. The whole family turned to Maribel with accusatory looks, as if it was all her fault. In their view, the vision pointed at her as the one to blame for all the destruction. Even her mom seemed convinced it was Maribel's fault. What a horrible feeling that must have been. We'll find out what she does next time from the Oosterhout Free Library. Check out the rest of our video programming.